It's very difficult for me to speak. I feel that I've lost a father, I've lost a really Mubik. And it's also a thought that I've lost the Klal Yisrael. They're sitting here, a guy named Moshe Cohen, a shpugger, the Rebbe says, the sisters. Best I recall, he once told me, I think he got it from his Zayda, who had a lot of shaykhs with the Rosh. The Vinsk, there was the Or Sameach with Meir Simcha, and there's another community that had a Rav, so they imported Rav Yosef Rosen, the Rogachover, the guy. The Rogachover was known to be very sharp. He was Makayim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's zatzal of Teichacha that was necessary, and especially those who there was nobody in Klal Yisrael to give them Teichacha. He took upon himself this mitzvah. He was very sharp. It doesn't matter how big the Gadol was, or the Gadol Hador, he was Mekayim the mitzvah Teichacha. The Meir Simcha was niftar. They asked him to be maspid, and he refused to be maspid. The Rogachover refused to give a hesped. When the first maspid got up, he stood in the back, and the maspid started to talk about the goyness of Meir Simcha, and the Rogachover was standing in the back, and he started to scream very loudly, "Tordas nicht zogen." You're not allowed to say that. And people were very uncomfortable. They felt like crawling under the floor. This is the time to give him Teichacha. And he continued, he says, "We can name and people might think Chas v'Sholom is Mishkan Tzadik, nor a goyim." And he screamed as loudly as he could with all of his might. The next speaker got up, and of course he started saying what a tzaddik he was. And he screamed, "Tordas nicht zogen. We can name and Chas v'Sholom is Mishkan Grace a goyim." That was the hesped he gave on Meir Simcha until he physically lost his voice. He couldn't make a sound anymore. He screamed so much he lost his voice. I just feel that I'm personally inadequate to give a hesped. And even if I was adequate, there certainly is not adequate time. So I thought perhaps I would make some attempt to focus in on one small area. It's difficult to explain without knowing the personality of this Gadol when he was younger, because he came to Telstone about 5 years ago, where he was already holding by a halach of Shivrei Luchos He wrote his last sefer 6 years ago. Das Yehudis. I'd just like to start with what I thought I would say to end. But just explain. When he was a bocher in Baranovich, he was very close to Rabbi Chanan. He was Stam Rabbi Chanan's main talmud that he had in his life. He was the chayzer in yeshiva. There were two. He was one of the two that used to repeat the shir klali for the whole yeshiva afterwards. He was also a shir tzibor, Rosh Yom Kippur. And he had, it's difficult to understand, a special kibbutz of the biggest lamdonim in the yeshiva. They used to give them a job as a machalik, which meant to be a waiter. But the biggest lamdonim were called a machalik. And he knew a lot of mices about Rabbi Chaim because the one who took care of the kitchen was very close to the Rebbetzin. He used to always speak to her, and she knew all the mices. And from that, he knew himself a lot of the mices. He said that he was once speaking to Rabbi Chaim about the sugi of Davar Shel B'Olam Olam, Kedushas Haguf and Kedushas Mammon. And when he got walking with Rabbi Chaim was getting closer to his house. Rabbi Chaim asked him, "Do you write down everything?" He said, "Yes, I write down everything that I heard from the Rebbe. Everything's written down." And Lamais, he wrote everything down. Just mentioned to you, there was a mashkiach who he said was for sure he hoped, and people, whoever I met from there, felt the same, was definitely one of the Lamed Tzadikim. And the Shral Yankov Lovachansky was a guy in Adir. The last years he ate by him Shabbos, and he used to speak at the table about the shir. He was a chayzer, he knew the shir. And he said, Mishal Yankov would ask the kasha, and you could forget the whole shir, it was finished. He was such a guy that he tried very much to hide himself. When he spoke, he said he was always mopik my voice, an unbelievable speaker. And he used to say to people, ich can nicht learn. My shvoger who's a Rav can learn. First of all, he himself was a Rav even earlier. He was in the third Adam of the Alter of Navardik. Ben Zmanim, being a mashkiach in the full sense of the word, he cared every little thing about the Talmidim. He checked with where he was staying, where the Shver Zatzal was staying, and there was a boy who stayed in the house, one of the children, and he saw him schmoozing with him. And this boy wasn't very intelligent. He was very minimal intelligence. And he couldn't understand why Rabbi Chanan was spending so much time with him. And he asked the Bacher later, and the Bacher said he wants to know what you do Ben Azmanim. He said, "No, what did you tell him?" He said, "I told him the truth. You sit and you write the shirim, the shir klali." He didn't have time during his mind. He used to keep it in his cup. He used to write Ben Azmanim the whole time he sat down and wrote the shir klali. Even Rabbi Chanan Chasni Torah, that he said in the Shor Brachos, on Pidgin Petach Hamor, he even had that. He had every single thing he ever heard from Rabbi Chanan, he wrote it down. So Rabbi Chanan was very interested if he actually wrote everything down, and he said to him, ich forget. Rabbi Chanan said, I forget. 3 years later, when he was in Mir, he had a chabritzer of Naftali Basim, who he said was definitely going to go to Ador. He unfortunately, he had the papers to leave. He was on the way to the station. He dropped the suitcase on his foot. He broke the bones in his foot, and he had to go back for medical treatment, and imagine Moshe emerged eventually. As I was saying, 3 years when he was in Mir, and when Naftali asked him for his notes, he said to him that Rabbi Chanan asked somebody else for the notes, and they refused. I couldn't understand. Refused to give the notes. It's a comfort to give the notes, of course. He gave him his notes, and he used them for publishing Kovetz Aris. He imbibed, he digested what he got from his Rebbeim. He didn't just hear it. He lived. I know little things I saw him doing. I knew exactly because he used to tell me the mitzvahs from his Rebbeim sometimes 20 times, 30 times. I don't know how many times I heard the same mitzvah. Each time I enjoyed it more. And I knew little things that people didn't know what he's doing. That I knew exactly what his Rebbeim said, and their hanhag is exactly what he was doing.